Hello, everybody. It is still Monday, the 15th of November. I just want to make this video quickly now because I kind of feel that maybe I should explain myself in a way, because I was spending most of the day listening to videos on doctors for COVID ethics, reading through some of the articles and looking at the UK column and the articles on there. And then it occurred to me that it must look actually very strange to some people what I'm doing, considering the situation we're in, which is very precarious. Humanity is at a crossroads. This is extremely dangerous. So why would I be talking about the Bible? Well, I am actually a step ahead, or I'm going deeper to the root of the problem, whichever way you want to look at that. As far as the immediate threat of this situation is concerned, there are plenty of people on it, very qualified people, and dealing with this. And I am absolutely convinced this episode will run itself through in the usual manner. It is going to be horrendous when it does, but it will do it. And that is the reoccurring patterns that we are in. We are going around in circles. Actually, this circle is actually following so quickly onto the one before that it is scary. And it is not even, it is precisely the same thing within a generation, and people are not waking up. We went through the Third Reich with, there's an enemy within, and then you need to give up your rights in order to protect yourself. And we are now about this virus thing. There's actually talk about camps. Yeah. And the other thing is, the only thing they haven't done yet is that we are supposed to sew a little coronavirus or something onto our jackets. But that might be a step too obvious even for them. But the same thing is playing itself out again within a generation. It's been 76 years or something since 45. So that's scary that it should happen that quickly. But as I said, and the end is already mapped out, and it's going to be the same as before, because people are already talking about Nuremberg-style trials. And and then they will give us some scapegoats that we can hang, to fulfill our desire for justice. And then after that, there might be a revival for the churches if there's a period of repentance. They can tell us, how bad we are. We should beat ourselves up. And then it will go all its way again. We will create a new structure, and it's all going to be a bit different, but it will all happen again, continuously. We've been going around these cycles since I don't know when. So what is producing these cycles? That is what I'm concerned with. What is producing these cycles? I'm going to let this one run out. Plenty of people dealing with it, and it is going to be horrendous, and there's nothing I can do about it. We're too far in this thing to stop it now. It will have to play itself out. So my question is, what is producing these cycles? Now, if you look at the History Channel, for instance, I have members of my family that are terribly fond of that, and the explanations they give you is actually pretty much politics, maybe they bring the industrial side a little bit, those that made profit out of it, maybe, but it's mostly politics and maybe a little bit of psychology, like Hitler had a bad childhood. But they don't like concerning themselves with the nature of the people that were in this structure, political structure, industrial structure. They don't like concerning themselves with the nature of those people. Others, as I said, psychology, Hitler had a bad childhood, or just saying they were monsters, which does not really explain anything. And now, as we see this thing unfold again, you've got the likes of David Icke, and what is he concerning himself with? The structure, books upon books upon books about the structure, that evil web, and how it all hangs together, and the playing parts, the people, who met who, where, and how this whole structure, this evil web is hanging together. It doesn't really explain why this is happening again. I mean, they obviously built another structure, but the structure does not work itself. It needs people to do so. So then I've heard some starting to ask about the people. What is driving the people? It's a far more interesting question. And talking about greed. And there's a lot of that. That is, it is the reward for the minions. And the minions are driven by that. But that is really not very high up in the structure. The desire for power, which is another thing that is given to the minions. Range of power. But at the top, there's something completely different. That is, I was trying to think about a word all afternoon that would describe it, and it is pure. That's the only word I can come up with. It is pure. Pure, what we perceive as evil, but to them it is what I am. I am that I am, and I am superior. There is no guilt up there, because they're working on the full conviction, out of full conviction of what they are. So that's pure in a way. Well, that would explain that end of the whole dilemma. Although those that are of that purity are actually human beings. So you kind of wonder how they got there. What made them that way? But then come the players at the bottom, which are us. And we are the driving force in this whole thing. We are playing out the script. So then, what are we doing? And then, again, David Icke saying it's humanity's acquiescence. Well, okay, yeah, and that's a problem. What makes us acquiesce? Because that is, all the players are playing the same part every time the cycle goes around. We acquiesce, or some of us have a different role. We are activists. We are active. Yeah? So we've been given another role to play. And at the moment they're being given theories about how to save this world. And then if you look at the theories, most of them have more holes than a Swiss cheese. I mean, this whole virus thing has got more holes than a Swiss cheese. And supposedly intelligent people, or mildly educated people anyway, are running with this. So what's going on here? And then, and you go deeper into it, then comes the explanation, the resigned explanation, that's human nature. And once we get to that point, the church is probably going to have a revival, bring out the repentance thing. Let us all beat ourselves up because of our evil human nature. And this is the point why I am in those teachings, because that is what they're talking about. Human nature. What creates human nature? Because human nature is not a set thing. And for a long time, Darwinism and the whole genetic stuff is treating us like a machine, and we are what we are, and we're just running this machine. This machine is rather complicated, and that is what the old teachings knew. They knew what made us tick. And you see, every time there was a time of revival, of enlightenment, like in the Middle Ages, when they burned the witches and they burned the heretics, evil heretics, the ones that had evil knowledge, evil magic, they were talking to demons or whatever. What happened to all the writings of those really bad heretics? All those evil writings, where did they go? All that knowledge? Into the vaults of the Vatican, because they know what it is talking about. And they came to understand that human nature is not a set thing, but that it is created through a knowledge of ourselves and outside influences. I will talk about that a bit more tomorrow, especially the outside influences, because I think they may have miscalculated a bit on that side. But I can see that they're trying to redress the mistake, but I talk about that tomorrow. So when I talk about what I saw as the 4 pillars, the 4 cornerstones, our 4 branches, which between them create what we are, our nature, they are not set in stone, but they're sliding pieces. They're sliding scales. You can work them. You can put them onto different settings. I mean, the desires are, easy enough. The desire to receive, the desire to give. You can create greed in one set, and then, as I said, give the money to the minions as their reward. And for the others, you can say, Mary is, it's giving. You must be giving. You must be a servant. That is the most exalted human being. And then we're beating ourselves soggy trying to give to everything. And then they can drive us into guilt if we don't give even more. See, that is how they know our buttons. And that is where they drive people into acquiescence, or they make them active. We're like puppets on a string, because they understand how to press our buttons, what would work, the energies, and what it will do inside of us to create our natures. They are creating our nature. They are actively creating our nature. And out of our nature, whatever setting we are on at the time, we will react, and we become very predictable. So that is something that we must get a hold of ourselves, the understanding of ourselves, what we actually are, so we know what we are doing. We understand what it is we are doing and what the forces are that are working on us. And you see, we have free will. I mean, if there's a force coming that we don't want to let in, we can keep it out. There's another thing we have to learn, what we let in and what we keep out. Actually becoming like our own immune system. There's some things you shouldn't let in, and you shouldn't let it work inside of yourself. And the knowledge of that, if we actually get a hold of this, will prevent that we're being used like puppets on a string, that we are becoming the unconscious co-creators in what's happening here. And then we will get another level of freedom, of self-determination, not created by some system outside of us, where they then tell us that is self-determination, or real self-determination, when you understand what it is you're doing and why you are doing it, and how nature is created, how your nature is created. And you know, you are not evil. Somebody played with your buttons, and they put you on a setting where you would, out of that setting, it creates a perception, and then you do inside of that perception something that, if you were of your right mind, you would probably not do. So then hopefully that explains why I'm looking at this, and I really think this is the most important thing. This is the truth about ourselves that will set us free, when we know what we're doing. And as the most immediate situation is, well, I'm trying to stay alive for as long as I can. But as I said, we are that far into this thing now, it will play itself out, and it's not going to be pretty. But unless we, at least some of us, concentrate on not repeating the next cycle, because if we don't do that, we will play this one out and we will go straight into the next one, and the whole something of this ilk, something similar. It will take a different form, but you know, a different picture, and beneath that picture it's going to be the same thing over and over again. Right, I leave it at that for this evening, and tomorrow I want to talk about the forces that are working within us, because only part of it is actually created by ourselves, and the one part we create and the other part we receive. We receive, and that is not actually under our control. But I will talk about that tomorrow, and I'll see you then. Bye.